Home sellers are having a really tough time coming to grips with why their house isn't selling. Zillow might tell you one thing, that it might be worth this amount, but Jerome Powell is going to make sure sellers don't get that. There's also a lot of competition when it comes to new construction homes, where the builders are offering to buy down rates so low that it's very hard to compete with an existing home. I think what a lot of sellers don't realize is that if someone had the choice between an existing home and a brand new home, where your payment is going to be less on the brand new home than it is with the existing home, it's very likely that they're going to go with the brand new home instead. But what people aren't realizing is that in a normal market, we're sitting around 35, 45, even up to 2 months, 60 days, even sometimes 90 days. Pre-COVID, pre-2014, these were normal numbers, and a lot of people are having a hard time wrapping their minds around this new normal market because we've been so caught up in the COVID market, which is what I call it, that we haven't had time to really slow down and get back to what things should be. Now in this chart, you can see over time how the average days on market compares over the previous years. So you can see at some points we were even hitting up to over 70 days on the market in Colorado Springs. The problem with these higher rates is that people don't want to move. So sellers don't want to sell their homes, and buyers don't want to buy the homes because they can't afford it, because the price point is way too high. In Colorado Springs, if you got a mortgage of $2,200 to $2,500, that was more reasonable. But when you are looking at these higher rates, home purchasing power goes down significantly. You're talking several $100s. In a previous video, I went over what a monthly payment would look like at today's interest rates on my mortgage calculator. That monthly payment can be up to $3,500 or more on the median home priced house here in the Springs, which is about $475,000 depending on the month. Now we are in the fall months, so historically it's going to dip in the fall. Homes just don't sell as much, but even worse now, homes don't sell as much because of our inventory crisis, and just the cost of housing is just ridiculous. And it's showing up in the home sales report. According to the Gazette, home sales fell for the 16th consecutive month. And they got that information from the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors. Homeowners were able to sell their properties within days and even hours 2 to 3 years ago. And I think a lot of sellers are under the misconception that this is still a thing, but it's not. Now, there are some advocates that are going in and trying to get some resolve when it comes to housing. The number of homes that are selling is just dwindling down more and more. And now we're down to 1,000 in September of 2023. Sellers just aren't willing to give up those really low interest rates for an interest rate that could be almost 3 times more than what they're currently paying. But new construction homes are the shining light through all of this, because you can get brand new appliances that are energy efficient, that are modern, that have, modern taste and style at a lesser monthly payment than an older home. So there are a lot of builders that are offering different types of incentives, closing costs covered, they're throwing in washer and dryer, they're doing all these different things to help buyers get back in the market, and they have a ton of inventory to sell. They were already in motion building these homes out, and they've got a lot of homes that they have to offload, and a lot of them are just sitting there. And so they're offering these different incentives to buy down these rates and get these monthly payments more affordable. They have room to help buyers get into these homes with all these crazy incentives. Now, not to say that they're making a ton of money. I think a lot of people are losing money in this market. Real estate agents, people in sales in general, everything's down right now with this silent recession or great recession or whatever people are calling it these days. What I do know is that a lot of sellers are just wanting an offer. They want to be able to negotiate any offer. So not to say that people should go around lowballing, but if you see a house that you really like but you don't like the price, now is the time to negotiate those prices and terms. When people are buying, that is not the time to negotiate or think that you're going to get a deal, right? When people were buying during COVID, nobody was getting a deal. They were getting a deal as far as interest rate goes, but they weren't getting a deal when it came to pricing. Conventional loans were beating out, cash loans were beating out VA and FHA. Right now, if you're VA or FHA, you have a really good chance to get the home of your dreams. Obviously, you have to qualify. All of these things are going to have terms that everyone has to abide by. But my point is, you don't know unless you actually go out there and find the deals or find the homes that have been sitting on the market for at least 2 months. You never know what that seller is going to accept. You never know how motivated they are to move. So until you get out there and get a good real estate agent, if you need one, feel free to reach out to me. But you will never know until you actually get out there and start looking for those homes, looking for those sellers. A lot of people are trying to find off-market properties, but really if you just look at the ones that are on the market, like I said, at least 2 months, then you might have a better chance to get a home that you really love and get the deal. I know that everybody wants a really good deal on real estate. And if you're a VA buyer, then you can look for those assumable loans where you just come in and take over that loan, but also using a second on the mortgage to pay the difference. So there's a whole process on how all of this works. So you really want to make sure that you have a lender that knows what they're doing, that has experience doing this kind of thing, because you don't want to get screwed over in the end. So the cost of these homes for sale is really not changing too drastically like people were thinking that it was going to be because of the low inventory, because we don't have enough homes to go around. I think a lot of people know that at this point. I know I repeat that a lot, but people are still thinking that there's going to be a housing crash where all these homes are going to come on the market and there's going to be an Airbnb crash. And if you watched my last video, you'll see that the Airbnb crash is likely not going to happen because there's not enough. There's not enough homes. Even if every Airbnb owner had to offload those properties, it would get absorbed into the market super quick. According to all the rooms, there's probably only less than 2,000 vacation rentals. And as far as new foreclosure starts, those are still at historic lows. So if you're banking on foreclosures, that is likely not going to happen anytime soon. But what can happen sooner is negotiating with the sellers of existing homes or trying to find a new construction home and a reputable builder. Because what you don't want to happen is that they're giving away all these incentives and it turns out that they are just unable to follow through on their promises. And then you're stuck with a house that you regret buying. So you want to make sure that you're with a reputable builder. If you need a list of those homes, feel free to email me. But in the meantime, hang in there, continue to save, continue to work on your budget, try not to overspend, try not to eat out as much. I think everybody should just stop spending money so that Jerome Powell can just stop raising the interest rates and making life difficult for everybody. So if you want to learn more about the housing market, make sure that you watch the video that's popping up next on the screen where I go into detail all the different numbers that I had mentioned before as far as the Airbnb housing crash and the foreclosure starts and everything like that. So make sure to watch that and don't forget to subscribe.